We're back on the Swish 43 channel, and we're going to be talking about the trade deadline today. It's been known as a historic one so far. So, Jesse, I kind of want to get your thoughts. Like, what do you think about this deadline, what we've seen so far? We're going to go over each individual deal, but kind of what's your instant top of the head reaction?
Yeah, obviously it seems like one of the transactions really carries the entire deadline. That kind of is the feeling of most deadlines in my opinion. But now with the addition of Jimmy Butler being thrown in on top of the Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis trade, like and De'Aaron Fox and Zach Levine, a lot of moving parts, a lot of bigger names being moved, and it's been a lot of fun as a fan.
Yeah, Luca in I almost said a Mavs jersey, in a Lakers jersey makes me sick. It's something
It's
where I
disgusting.
don't know if I'll ever get used to it. And it's my son is 3, and it makes me sick knowing that he's going to grow up knowing Luca as a Laker.
I mean, you never know, but obviously that's what it looks. I mean, you would have thought he'd grow up knowing Luca as like one of the greatest Mavericks of all
Yeah,
time at that point,
exactly.
but you never know at this point. But
I'm going to be the old guy like, "Oh, he was such a good Maverick," and he'll be like, "Dad, like that means nothing to me."
we haven't even seen Luca in a Lakers jersey yet either. We've only seen the photoshops and him in like a Nike Tech Lakers warm up.
Well,
Like,
speaking of an amazingly insane trade, we're going to start with the first trade of the deadline. PJ Tucker, Mo Bamba, second round pick in cash for Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills. So Utah to the Clippers. What is your kind of first thoughts when you look at something like that?
yeah. So my first thoughts is I'm looking at the trade above it because this means absolutely nothing to me. Um, I have nothing left to say about this one. Like, PJ Tucker is already on the move anyways. Like, Utah just seems to be in the position that Detroit has kind of been in so far this trade deadline, with just acquiring second round picks and just helping to facilitate trades. So that's all I really see with this, is just helping and facilitating another trade. I mean, they're obviously in this next one with Luca. So yeah, Drew Eubanks is nice though. We got traded on his birthday, I believe. So
Oh, I did not know it was his birthday. And
yeah,
I was going to bring up Drew Eubanks because my brother in law, huge Eubanks fan when he was in San Antonio, has his jersey. He's a really solid player. I hate to admit it, but he's a solid player. And the
he
Clippers have
is.
been over exceeding expectations this
Yeah,
year, you could say.
and I think Eubanks is actually, if we're gonna touch on this a little bit, I think Eubanks is actually a very good like backup big, especially for the Clippers. With their backup big was what, Mo Bamba. I can't think of who else they had in the back behind Zubac. But if it's Drew Eubanks now, like that's a great pickup. And Patty Mills, obviously a very good shooter. He's a bit older now. I don't know how much tick he'll get, but Drew Eubanks is the highlight of that one for the Clippers for sure.
Yeah, and it's sad when you're talking about the start of the trade deadline and Drew Eubanks is the headliner.
Yeah, that's how it goes though. Usually it is a couple like of the slow moving ones.
Well, getting into the biggest trade so far of the past ever, biggest trade
Ever,
deadline deal ever,
ever.
Luka
Probably in like all of
Doncic.
professional sports,
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a single
more or
thing
less.
in the MLB, in the NFL, anything like that. But yeah, Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, Markeith Morris going to the Lakers. Anthony Davis, Max Christie, 2029 first to Dallas, Jalen Hood Shafino, and 2 second-round picks going to Utah. So the first thing I look at here, and what I was surprised is there's no Austin Reeves, no Dalton Connect, no other first-round picks from the Lakers.
Yeah, 100% thought there was going to be more first. I think everybody's initial reaction was more first round picks from the Lakers. Dalton Connect 100% should have been a part of this. And I think like if you're trying to be on the Maverick side of just being happy or something, I don't know, like looking for the positives of this trade, it's the fact that like I guess Anthony Davis is worth what, 3 first round picks, 4 on like a very good day. Max Christie's a first round pick probably, and then you get a first round pick, so there's 5, I guess. But you would like to get, you know, Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and then 3 on top of that. And we all know that, like, obviously, this trade, I believe, is going to be, it's going to be their best window, or opens their window at least now for a 3-year period, I would say, of win now basketball for Dallas. While the Lakers, I think, are still a win now team with Luca and LeBron James. You're always going to be a win now team, but that extends their window, the Lakers window, for at least the next 10 years. So I don't really know what Dallas is doing here.
Yeah, and things like this just fall into the Lakers' lap time after time.
Every time.
And it just seems like Rob Pelinka, he seems like a great guy. He seems like a good GM, but I think in 50 years from now, people are going to be like, look at all these deals Rob Pelinka made. And
It's just insane.
it doesn't
'Cause I
make
don't
sense.
think I don't think he's that amazing. From what I've seen, like he doesn't know how to build a team around LeBron James. That's pretty obvious. Like all of their attempts to build around LeBron and AD have pretty much failed outside of a bubble year. And the bubble year is like, I don't know. At that point, it felt like zero young teams were meant to do good in the bubble. It was like the 30-year-olds like Jimmy Butler, LeBron James are going to carry you through like this hard time in NBA history. Like an OKC or like a Houston or a Memphis, like I don't think would have thrived in the bubble compared to like a LeBron, Anthony Davis team. So I think that year is just a little bit different. So outside of that, I don't know if they've built a team very well around uh, LeBron. So I wouldn't give Rob Pelinka very much credit whatsoever. And it's not even he didn't even reach out to
Yeah.
Nico Harrison. Nico
Yep.
Harrison came to Rob Pelinka. So it's not even like Rob Pelinka did this. Rob Pelinka was just sitting there chilling, watching a movie or something, and all of a sudden he was just like, "Oh, I can just get Luka Doncic now." And every GM in the league is going to say yes. Every
Yeah.
GM in the league could do that. It's like Troy Weaver picking Cade Cunningham first overall and being like, everybody's like, "Oh wow, what a great draft!" But we knew Cade Cunningham was the pick.
Yeah.
You got to take it.
Yeah. He didn't talk to any other teams either, which is the thing that keeps getting back to me and making me go crazy, because you go to 28 other teams and you say, hey, Luka Doncic is available. Let's keep this between us. I don't want this to get out there. What is the best offer you can send me? And then he was worried about people finding out and there being fan backlash.
Yeah.
And so, I mean,
He knew.
have a quick bidding war. Don't drag it out over weeks. Don't drag it out over days. Call up all the GMs, or at least the ones that you know have assets that you like,
Right.
and then go from there. The one thing I look at with Dallas, though, is getting Anthony Davis. I don't know if you could have gotten a higher level player than Anthony Davis. I don't in it not being lateral, if that makes sense, because they're
What do you
getting
mean?
like they're getting a defensive anchor, and I don't know if they could have gotten a defensive anchor with that high offensive ability
Yeah.
in a trade. And I know that sounds crazy because Luka could probably fetch you a lot anyways. But like, I don't know if other teams would see that and be like Giannis. I heard he might have sent feelers for Giannis. That just wouldn't have made sense. I don't
Why
know.
not? I feel like Giannis and AD are pretty similar.
Well, Giannis and AD, but I think Giannis is younger where it wouldn't have made sense.
Oh, yeah. That's fair. Also, before we move past this, I wanted to say apparently Rob Pelinka also talked Nico down from like
Connect
or
a second.
whatever it was. Yeah, it was like Nico was going to give more picks or something, or the other way around. Rob was going to give more picks, and he kind of talked Nico out of it and ended up giving him one pick when it was supposed to be like two picks and Connect and Christie and Davis. Like,
Well, and talked him out of a second, which is insane.
Insane. But back to what we were talking about. I don't think you could have gotten much better player than Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic, but I do think you could have gotten more high-end quality NBA players for it.
Yeah,
You could have
like a
gotten
better
more out
package.
of it. Yeah. So you could have gotten, like, for example, I don't even know if this is a possibility, but like an Alperen Şengün, Amen Thompson, or like an Alperen Şengün, Tari Eason, Jalen Green. You know what I mean? Like more
Yeah.
high-end players that could like net you better results for the future. But I mean, Anthony Davis, you can't complain about Anthony Davis other than the fact that you gave Luka Doncic up to get Anthony Davis.
Yeah, they have to win this year or next year or the year after. And the year after is going to be really tough with the ages of these guys.
Yeah. I believe Kyrie's what, 35?
He's
I
up there.
don't know exactly off the top of my head.
80, and he can't be that old, I don't think. He has got to be like, isn't he like 31, 32? Davis is 32.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, my bad. He's 32. Davis is I think
Or is he 31 turning
31.
32?
I think 31 turning 32. I think he turns 32 in February. Kyrie's 32, turns 33 in March, and then you also have Klay Thompson. But the rest of the team is on the younger side. You know.
Yeah.
So
Utah, Danny Ainge didn't know until 30
Yeah,
minutes before, and
dude.
he wouldn't have helped the Lakers because of his undying love for the Celtics and the hate for the Lakers.
Yeah, but Shams also came out and said that some other team would have stepped in and helped facilitate it if it weren't Ainge. So like,
Oh yeah,
if somebody is going to do it, you might as well get in there and get your second round picks and a young, um, undiscovered talent in Jalen Hood-Schifino.
yeah. That's the other surprising thing because Utah didn't give anything, but they took a, a player on a rookie contract and got 2 seconds. So
Right.
like, if I'm Detroit and you know that they're doing that because they did that today with 2 trades so far,
Hmm.
I'm surprised they didn't step in and be like, well, we'll do Jalen Hood and a second, or we'll just take 2
Right.
seconds. Um,
Right.
oh well, we can talk about that a little bit later.
Right.
Do you have anything else you want to say about this trade before we go on? I know this is the most star-studded one, so I want to make sure we hit
Um,
it good.
we just got another live one though.
Oh,
The New York Knicks are trading center Jericho Sims to the Milwaukee Bucks as a part of the Bucks Washington Wizards Kyle Kuzma and Chris Middleton deal.
oh, so Sims to the Bucks. Okay, I mean
I
Brooks
don't
getting
know.
old.
Yeah, I don't know what the Knicks are getting out of this. Just getting off Sims' contract, maybe. I have no idea.
Yeah, he was a second rounder, so I'm surprised that they would just want to get off of it unless they're really close to above the luxury tax or the first apron, trying to just
Right.
slightly get under.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
think
I
Sims
was
is playing solid anyways, but
I was worried you were going to say something huge. Well, not
I
worried. I
I
was
was
excited.
I know, same. I thought I was too. I saw the Jericho Sims and I was like, oh, there's something new, and then I didn't know it was tied into the last trade or earlier trade.
Okay, moving up. This is probably the third. I don't know. I'd almost call this the second biggest trade, even with the Jimmy Butler trade, just because you have Fox and Levine moving
Hmm.
rather than
Yeah,
just Jimmy and some really good role players.
yeah.
Anyways,
Um,
oh yeah, I look at this trade and you get Wemby a co-star. I mean, that's something every player needs.
Not even that, bro. You didn't give up Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Stefan Castle, Jeremy Sohan. You didn't give up any of the Atlanta Hawks first round picks. Like that Hornets pick is going to convey in the 2 seconds because they're going to be a lottery pick or lottery team this year. That Spurs pick in 2027, it's Wembenyama. Like they're going to be competing for a championship in 2027. It's going to be a low end first round pick. And that 2031 first round pick from the Timberwolves, there's a chance that's the best value you got out of all of the picks because you have no idea what's going on with Anthony Edwards and just how poorly ran Minnesota is. So those being all the picks you got, and CD Sissoko is the only young player you got, like what a fleece, dude.
Yeah, it's always tough when you have a guy who you know he wants out
Right.
and you know where he wants to go.
Yeah, him saying the destination is the one that really did it in for him.
And
He screwed over the Kings.
and the Zach Levine talk has gotten a little bit crazy because I know he has that bad contract, but he's putting up superstar numbers this year.
25 a game.
Yeah. What is it, like 25, 5, 5, shooting 40 something from three?
Yeah, something like that. He's playing phenomenal this year, and I still think it's crazy that the Bulls are going to keep. I mean, this is off the Vucevic or off the Levine thing, but the Vucevic thing is like the Bulls are still keeping him, and Vucevic is having one of his best seasons of the past 3 years. I just think it's insane how the Bulls have just managed their assets so poorly. It's something for all the GMs, especially the young GMs around the league, to look at it and take note of.
Yeah, I'm hoping Chicago can turn it around. And that might be
Nah,
weird coming from a Pistons fan, but my only point is that I love seeing the rivalry and I like seeing them play when it matters.
yeah,
Um,
that's fair.
being okay, so we might have talked about this a little bit. I'm a semi Bears fan. Fantasy football made me a Bears fan, even though I live in Michigan. So I I love seeing competitive football, and all their divisional matchups were against teams that were in the playoffs, and they didn't do anything this year. I mean, they had a
Hmm.
almost historically bad year. None of the games meant anything, even though usually they mean a lot. Divisional matchups in the NFL are crazy, but when one team is bad and the other team's really good, it's not. There's no fun to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of how like the Central Division in the NBA has been though. Most of the teams have been bad, but like the Bucks are good, and finally like Indiana's good the last like
Mm-hmm.
year or two, and then Pistons are on their way up, and the Bulls we're good for half of a season. But outside of De'Aaron Fox and Sacramento getting fleeced, they ended up with Zach LaVine. So I mean, that's whatever. I think San Antonio needs to thank Chicago a ton because they had to give up nothing because Chicago gave him Zach LaVine.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So like San Antonio didn't have to give up anything, which is crazy.
you're right. Just the picks, Trey Jones, a couple of the picks.
Yeah, but the picks are trash.
Yeah, the only thing that can save Chicago here is if they reroute some of those players. I know Trey Jones is one of my favorite picks for Detroit as the backup initiator with Jaden Ivey out as well. And now that Lonzo Ball signed his extension. But
Sorry, every time I look down at my phone, it's just in case we do get a deal.
no, no worries.
I keep getting texts or messages that wait. Oh, sorry, that was a Jimmy Butler thing, but it has nothing to do with this.
Okay, yeah. Once we get to it, I do have a question because there were some weird things about that framework.
Yeah.
Okay, next trade. We don't have to spend too long on it. There's
No.
Caleb Martin for Quentin Grimes in a 2025 second. The big thing I want to say here is Dallas attached 3 picks to Tim Hardaway Jr. to Detroit for Quentin Grimes.
Mm-hmm.
Now they had to attach a pick to Quentin Grimes to send him out.
Yeah, and I think the big reason they sent Quentin Grimes out is because it seems like Nico is afraid of what the future. He wants guys under contract. I think
Yeah.
Caleb Martin is still under contract for 3 more years, or I
I
think
think
he
it's
signed a
$9 million
4 year.
a year too.
Yeah, and Quentin Grimes is going to be owed a contract, and it's going to be a good amount. Like Grimes is a really good player, so I think that's the only reason they let him go is because they owe him money.
Oh, easily. Yeah, I can
But
get
they're going to
behind
owe him.
that
So
that explanation there. The thing with Quentin Grimes is like you're worried about the money, but he's also one of your young guys. But
mhm.
at the same time, you have Max Christie now,
Yeah, you just
who
brought
kind of can
Max
fit
Christie.
that role.
Yeah, and he may be better than Quentin Grimes, to be honest. So
And Caleb Martin, yeah, I think we've touched on that one enough.
yeah, he's a
Um,
playoff dog.
if I thought the last one didn't need much,
Yeah,
here's Detroit getting KJ Martin in 2 seconds.
and this one still has to be finalized, I believe.
Yeah, I think KJ Martin might be rerouted. I know Amari Sankova of the Detroit Free Press mentioned that.
Hmm.
So I think all these Detroit trades that we're going to see, because there's one more that's going to be up, that very
Yeah,
recent. Um, all those guys are going to be rerouted, I think, and it's going to turn into more picks. It's going to turn into a bigger player.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, keeping on going. So this
Mhm.
is one of the most surprising trades at the deadline. I don't think anyone saw it coming before a few days ago when it was mentioned. And then I thought, okay, this seems like one of those things where one of those accounts that says they have sources mention something.
Hmm.
And then this actually came true. Kyle Kuzma for Chris Middleton, and then some other ancillary pieces in there. I A lot of people are trashing on Milwaukee. And
Yeah,
I don't know. What are your thoughts before I say anything?
yeah. No, I made a video about it already today, and from a well-known, or no, I was gonna say Lonzo Ball. Jeez, a well-known Kyle Kuzma and Julius Randle hater. I actually like this trade, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the only reason I dislike it is A, because you sent out a 2028 pick swap, and B, AJ Johnson is just somebody that's always intrigued me. Outside of that, though, Chris Middleton has played 167 games since you guys won a championship. Kyle Kuzma since then has played 232 games since the Bucks won their championship. That is a 65 game difference, I believe. That's almost a full season of basketball. And although Kyle Kuzma was not having a good season by any means, he's shooting 26% from 3, averaging 15 a game. We know what Kyle Kuzma can do. He's already won a championship. And I mean, last year he averaged 18. He's been the 1A on Washington for a while now. He's going to be that the third or fourth option playing next to Dame and Giannis. I think his shot selections are going to get better. The initiative he has to put into the game, like all of like his expectations are now increased to the point where like he's expected to go out there every single night and play to win a championship. Now you're playing with Giannis and Dame. Like Dame hasn't gotten one. Giannis wants more. Like you got to play up to these standards now. So I don't think he's going to be that same like shot chucking, bad shot taking, like below average defender that we've seen him in Washington. Like, I think he's going to return to that like championship caliber role player that they're hoping to get.
Yeah. And you saw it when he played for the Lakers, albeit that was a few years ago. He's able to fit that role, and he doesn't just need to be the guy who has the ball in his hands in a better cultural setting in Milwaukee.
Mhm.
Culture, not cultural, cultures.
The
Better
culture, the
culture.
cultural, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's the right term still, and I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. And the thing with Kuzma as well is he's having the worst statistical year of his career. But like you mentioned, a lot of that can be attributed to playing next to Jordan Poole, playing in a pretty dysfunctional system.
Yeah,
But
zero
and
expectations.
yeah, Chris Middleton, though, that's a bummer. I mean, seeing what he did for that Milwaukee franchise,
Yeah,
he's like one of those guys where it's like, just be a lifer. Come on, be a Milwaukee lifer. But when you
he's
have
probably
Giannis
gonna get bought out.
Antetokounmpo, yeah, I think he's going to go he's going to either get bought out or get moved to a different contender.
Yeah,
But it's just like, it's just tough to see those. But when you have a guy like Giannis, you have to maximize. And I think
yeah,
getting a younger Kyle Kuzma maximizes, who's also on a
right.
fantastic descending contract.
Yes, you're right. I forgot that it is a descending contract, and also, we didn't even mention PBJ going to Milwaukee.
Okay. How many trades have we already gone through? How many have there been? 1, 2,
5, 6.
3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it's crazy because in years past, I don't
Oh,
think
we got
there's
another
too
trade.
many leading up. Oh, what do we
Oh,
got?
just kidding, just kidding. It's a part of the other trade from earlier, the Jericho Sims one. DeLon Wright is going back to the Knicks and cash for Sims.
Interesting.
So that's the
Okay.
other piece of that.
I need to watch more Knicks games, but my first instinct there is Miles McBride kind of cutting it as your backup point guard.
Campaign's a backup point guard.
Oh, has he been playing their backup point?
Yeah,
That shows how much
campaign, and
Knicks I've been
he's been
watching.
pretty decent. And then yeah, Miles has been Deuce McBride is the guy, man. He is sick. And I don't know how much DeLon Wright really does. I think this is more probably just an apron thing for two of the largest spending teams in the league.
Yeah, that checks out.
I
Okay.
don't know. I'd have to look more into that, the meaning of that.
I don't really want to cover Houston, Boston. There's
Yeah.
so
Springer's intriguing. Young
yeah,
piece.
he was with Philly to start, went to Boston, now traded. There's also, I heard, very complicated protections on a second round picks. I don't know if it's these ones or there's more that there's very complicated. If you are really into that, you can go look those ones up because I'm pretty sure the
Yeah.
complications aren't listed here.
Probably skip by this one too. Daniel Tice is just a nice. I don't know. Chet's out. They need more size. That's
Yeah,
about it, really.
the one thing I want to mention with this is Detroit was rumored to have a deal
Mhm.
in place with New Orleans in case Brandon Ingram didn't end up moving. They wanted to get under either the luxury tax or the first apron. I can't remember which one. I'm assuming this was the deal
Yeah.
for Detroit. I don't know what happened. Maybe Detroit pivoted and said we need to do this something else.
Mhm.
So that just makes me think Detroit's going to do something other than what they already did.
Yeah. I don't even know how I would have felt about that in Detroit. Obviously, the second round pick is welcomed, but like we're pretty stacked in the big guys already. I feel like Daniel Tice is just another log jam, another player.
Yeah, I feel like that's you either reroute them, but like
Yeah.
why you might have to give something up.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. Okay. Valanciunas going to be the backup for Sabonis. And then Sissoko gets moved
Again.
to Washington, which is actually a good place for young guys. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
if you need minutes, go to Washington. They also get 2
Especially
second round
with
picks.
Valanciunas leaving, Sissoko's now going in. Like, Sissoko replaces Valanciunas pretty much. He's a big guy, so like that's going to replace Valanciunas. Like those minutes are now open for Alexander Sarr, like Keyshawn George, C. Sissoko, those kind of guys.
Well, and I think that just shows the value of signing 1-year deals in free agency.
Mhm.
Nobody expected Washington to sign him. They brought him in to help out Sarr, get him into the NBA, get him a little bit acquainted with what's going on. Then you just gain a young prospect and 2 second round picks for it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love that point you made.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, no, it's honestly true though. Those 1 year, those short contracts, like next year, Tobias may be on the same thing, an expiring deal for the Pistons. Like we can look to move him on an expiring deal. He's going to be valuable for a contending team possibly. So
Yeah,
it's a good
and
point.
one more point I want to add on to that, and I kind of talk about this in my other videos I've made earlier today. Kind of like with the Lindy Waters, Josh Richardson second round pick, getting those individual seconds doesn't matter at the time because you're like, oh, it's just not much. KJ
Mhm.
Martin, you get 2 seconds. That doesn't matter. That's not much. But then when you have Tobias Harris's 30 million expiring, then you have
Mhm.
5 or 6 or 7 seconds. You might be able to get the Pascal Siakam, a guy who wants out.
Right, right. I mean, you also look at like, I mean, Jay Crowder, obviously not anything to go crazy about by any means, but Milwaukee did pay 6 second rounds for Jay Crowder at one point.
Yeah.
So like the second rounders, like they stack up. Obviously not like first rounders do, but they stack up into something. Like it's more than nothing. All right, last trade here. This one just happened within like the last 2 hours, hour and a half, whatever it is. Jimmy Butler is now to Golden State. Miami gets Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker, and Kyle Anderson. The Kyle Anderson thing I think is still tentative unless Miami has officially decided to keep him. But at one point he was being rerouted to the Pistons. A 2025 Warriors first round pick, top 10 protected. Detroit gets Lindy Waters, Josh Richardson in a second. Utah gets Dennis Schroeder. At one point, my trip in it was Kelly Olynyk. Not Kelly Olynyk wasn't involved in this, was it? It
No,
was
I don't
just
think
Kyle
so.
Anderson in Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
and then that got retracted, and now it's Kyle Anderson to Miami.
Yeah, Kyle. I think he's in Miami, but they're going to move him because
Yeah.
I think there's something with the tax. Um,
Mhm.
it's gonna his money fits exactly into what Detroit has left. I will say. I
I
think
like
he has
Kyle too.
9.2. Detroit has something, and then you can always reroute from there.
Yeah, I mean Kyle Anderson was a very valuable piece in the run for the Timberwolves last year. So I mean,
Yeah,
I would gladly take a Kyle Anderson in Detroit, but
I have a tweet somewhere where last year I mentioned him as a trade target. So that would be kind of cool, full circle. I could
sneaky,
retweet that.
right? Like you knew it, you saw the future.
So Jimmy Butler going to Golden State after all of his antics. For me, that kind of rubs me the wrong way, but at the same time, it's like it's whatever. But at the same, I don't know. It's just the way
No,
he whined and complained and sat out and threw his teammates under the bus, but said, "Oh, they're cool with me. It's fine. It's nothing against them." While they're sitting there like, "We just want to win. We want players to help us win." And now he
yeah,
goes and he gets that huge 2-year extension with the team that he said, "Oh, I don't want the extension."
yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
It's all super weird, and at some point we're gonna get a Jimmy Butler 30 for 30 where all of this is gonna break. Everything from him going to, Minnesota and that whole
Oh,
thing, the fallout there, and then going to Philadelphia, and then the whole like, oh, Tobias Harris over me, and then now he's in Miami, and all of, like we're gonna get a whole thing 30 for 30 about all of this, but I like it for Miami, to be honest. I mean, you would like more for Jimmy Butler, but Andrew Wiggins fills in nicely. And I think that's actually something to look forward to for Miami. I think it also is nice for Wiggins because the expectations when you're playing next to Steph Curry in Golden State and Draymond Green is championship or bust pretty much at this point, especially at this point in Steph Curry's career. So being in Miami now without Jimmy Butler, like their expectations are not championship anymore. I think he can just finally hoop.
yeah.
Just be Andrew Wiggins, man. Just go chill. You have no expectations to win every game with Steph Curry. Like you can just go play basketball.
Especially next to a guy like Tyler Hero, you have Bam Adebayo there. It's a
Yeah.
good team. You're not going to contend anymore without Jimmy. But the one thing I look at is that 2025 Warriors first round pick, top 10 protected. Oh, I guess that is going to convey because Warriors are not going to be in the top 10 anymore. Okay. Anyways, my thought was going to be, well, what happens if they finish top 10? Where does it go? What does it turn
They
into?
still
But
could they could finish top 10.
you think they might?
Oh, I guess no, they got Dave Jimmy. What am I thinking? I was
Yeah,
thinking if they had Andrew Wiggins,
that was my
that
thought
would
process
that would
too.
convey. But no, they
Yeah, I
have
looked
Jimmy
at
now.
that
They
really
shouldn't
hard, and
convey.
it's one
Yeah.
of those things where you start speaking, you're like, I guess I'll finish this thought.
Mhm. No,
Um,
yeah,
Dennis Schroeder going to Utah. I don't know if he's going to stay there.
he's gone.
Yeah,
He's gone.
I
There's no point in keeping him. He
well,
should be gone. So should Jordan Clarkson. So should John Collins.
the one thing I'll say is if I'm Detroit, Dennis Schroeder fits into your cap space left if you reroute Lindy, Josh, and KJ.
Mhm.
Actually, I'm pretty sure you can fit them into the room or there's all these different exceptions now. I don't
Yeah.
understand them all. I'm not going to act like I do. There was a tweet I saw about it, but I mean, there's a world where Dennis Schroeder could get rerouted to Detroit, who needs a backup point guard anyways.
Yeah. I mean, that would be sweet. That would be sweet. Dennis Schroeder, I think, like you've mentioned already, Trey Jones is also a candidate for that. I like Lindy, dude. I like Lindy Waters. I wish we could keep Lindy. He's a decent defender, decent play like shooter. I like Lindy.
So Lindy, the only reason I remember him is because Killian Hayes cooked him.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
there was a matchup, Killian scored like 30 points or
When
20
he was
something
on like
points.
OKC or when
It was
was he on
OKC.
OKC? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like his Lindy's rookie year. And I was like, he just kind of was one of those auto generated guys who just appeared.
Yeah. There was a time Carter and I were sitting on the couch watching a nationally televised Oklahoma City game one time, and we were going through the entire team, and we were like, "All right, who's that guy, and where did he go to college?" And we got to
Yeah.
Lindy Waters, and Carter and I stumped, had no idea, and so we looked it up, Oklahoma State, and then since then,
Oh,
Lindy Waters has been our guy. So we've been planning to go see Lindy Waters in person, and like we've been monitoring Lindy Waters very heavily. Like we both, for some reason, like Lindy so much. And so then we got the news that Lindy was coming to Detroit. And so I called Garter right away and I was like, yo, we got our boy. And he was instantly like, should I get a Lindy jersey? I was
yeah,
like,
if he sticks.
If he sticks, might have to.
Yeah, this deadline, there's going to be a lot more happening. And we're
Mhm.
30 minutes in. We still have how many hours? I'm not going to do the math there, like 15 more hours
Yeah.
until the deadline. Um,
Yeah,
it,
ish.
there's going to be so many. I remember the year was it Jose Calderon went to the Pistons, and that just shows how sad Pistons fandom is. That was the year when like a million trades went through in the last 30 seconds, and everything was updating. I was like freaking out.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be one of those deadlines.
Yeah, I also do. There's a lot of teams that still have a lot of moves to make, I think. Like, is Bruce Brown staying in Toronto? Like, you can go around the league, you can go to every single team, and there's guys. Like, is Jordan Clarkson and Dennis Schroeder staying in Utah? What is Portland going to do? I mean, they've won, what, nine
I
of
think
their
9.
last 10 or 11? They've won how many in a row now? Five or something like
Yeah.
that? Like, what are they going to do? There's no way they ride it out and hope they make a playoff spot and miss out on a pretty decent draft lottery. So, like, what are they going to do? They have so many pieces to move.
Yeah, it's going to be wild, and I'm excited to kind of go through it. Maybe we can get
Yeah.
back on and kind of see what else there is in the trade deadline.
Yeah, we should definitely do this again after the deadline and kind of go through the final reactions for everything because pieces are still moving. Like we said, Kyle Anderson, we still don't even know what's going on with that. Like, it seems like he was going to 3 different teams at one point. So it felt like as this whole entire trade was coming out, like there were still so many moving pieces to it.
Yeah. I mean,
So
the deadline could be over right now and I'd be happy.
as a Pistons fan or just like as an NBA fan in
Oh,
general?
Pistons fan, no. NBA fan, yes. Pistons fan, they need to do some more stuff. But I'm saying by the amount of star-studded names that we're seeing,
Yeah. As a greedy NBA fan, I want more. I'm not happy
always.
until the entire league is shaken up.
Yeah, well, Jesse, let's make sure we do this again soon.
We will, my guy.